What's going on, Z community? Sorry again about the hair, it's still not grown in yet. I'm just joking. What's going on, Z community? It's me, Tamer Azizz, and today we're going to be comparing the FICO score and the Vantage score. Did you know that there are actually a bunch of different types of credit scores that are used out there? About 90% of the time, the FICO score are what lenders usually use in Canada, but the other 10%, nobody really talks about. If you were to ask me personally, I would place all of my bets on VantageScore, which is the second most popular type of credit score that is usually commonly found in the States. This would be my best bet because usually when it comes down to finances, the States and Canada do have a lot of similarities. Now, when it comes to checking your credit score, you're probably familiar with Credit Karma and the other credit bureaus such as TransUnion or Equifax. Now, the problem is checking your credit score with these guys, they are giving you what is called the client score. This client score is not the same score that other lenders will look at when you're applying for different types of loans. Lenders will actually pull up something that is called the business score, which is absolutely not available to people like us being the consumer. This is actually a huge issue because how do we find out what our credit score is? My philosophy is to always make use of whatever you have. Because of this, we're going to focus on the factors that make up both the FICO score and the Vantage score. Chances are, by looking at the 10 different factors of both of these scores, they might actually be very similar to what businesses look at when you're applying to loans. Now, both the FICO score and the Vantage score have 5 different ranges that you can fit within. I've renamed these categories so you get a better idea of where you're supposed to be and where you're not supposed to be. Excellent, good stuff, you're almost there, whoa, and fix up fam. For the FICO score, you are going to be fitting in the excellent range if you are in between 800 and 850. 740 to 799 to fit within the good stuff range. 670 to 739 to be in the you're almost there range. 580 to 699 is the whoa range. And then 300 to 579, fix up fam. Now for the Vantage score, the ranges are a little bit different. Let's explore these. For the fix up fam, you have to range anywhere between 300 and 549. The whoa range is 550 to 669. You're almost there is from 669 to 699. Good stuff is anywhere between 700 and 749. And last but not least, excellent is anywhere between 750 and 850. So now that we know the different ranges that you could fit within, it still doesn't help us because when you're looking at your credit score through these different websites, they're not really giving you so much of an accurate score. And again, this is an issue because the points can actually vary between 50 and 200 points. There is one way where you can go to a business and then ask them to show you your credit score. But the two problems are that number one, it is going to hit your credit score and you will see it decrease a bit. And number two, different companies use different credit scores. So things get super complicated here. So let's look at the FICO score factors. The first one is payment history, which makes up 35% of your entire FICO score. Now, the payment history is hands down the highest weighed factor in both the FICO score and the Vantage score. If you end up missing one payment, your entire credit score is just going to skydive. So make sure you're always making your payments on time. Utilization rate, which has a 30% weighting factor on your FICO score, is just the ratio of the amount that you owe over the total amounts that you can borrow. Now, utilization rate is seen in both your FICO score and your Vantage score, but is given more importance within the FICO score. Then you have credit history, which makes up 15% of your entire FICO score. Now, your credit history is just the average age of all the different types of credit that you have within your credit file. Then you have new credit, which makes up 10% of your FICO score. Now, with new credit, think of it as the history of your recent applications to get new credit. But be careful with this factor because even if you get denied for a certain type of credit, it'll still show up on your credit file. Then we have credit diversification, which makes up the last 10% of your FICO score. Now, credit diversification just looks at how many different types of credit you have. For example, somebody with 2 credit cards, 2 lines of credit, and a mortgage is going to have a higher score within this factor than somebody who just has 1 credit card. Now let's flip the switch and go into the VantageScore factors. As we mentioned before, the payment history is seen within the VantageScore at a 40% weighting factor. Then you have the credit age and mix, which makes up 21% of the VantageScore. Now, this is a pretty interesting factor because it actually combines the credit history and the credit diversification all into one factor. And then there's that random 1% that's in the actual weighting itself. Don't ask me how they came up with that, but it's there. Then you have the credit utilization, which makes up another 20% of your VantageScore. Now, yes, it may have a lower weighting in comparison to the FICO score, but do not forget about this because it is still a very important factor. The next factor is recent credit applications, which makes up 5% of the VantageScore. Now, for this factor, just think of it as the exact same thing as the new factor credit that you have seen in the FICO score. Now, these last two that we're going to talk about are pretty interesting because they are both factors that are within the credit utilization factor. And these are available credit and balances. Balances make up 11% of your entire VantageScore. And this is where I said that it was kind of interesting. Because when you calculate credit utilization in a FICO score, it's usually the balances that you have divided by your total credit limit. Now, in the VantageScore, they only look at the balances that are unpaid, and it makes up 11% of the score. For example, if you didn't pay your credit card on time, it's going to show up in this factor as well. Then the last one is available credit, which makes up 3% of the VantageScore. Now, with available credit, it is basically the available credit that you have. For example, if you have student loans, a mortgage, a bunch of line of credits, and a bunch of credit cards that total up to $1 million, and you have your student loans and mortgages that still need to be paid, and that's $100,000. The difference of these two, which would be $900,000, this would be your available credit, and it makes up 3% of your VantageScore. What's my ultimate advice at the end of the day? Things might seem a little confusing because you have to worry about all these different types of credit scores. My personal suggestion is learn about each and every single type of factor and make sure that you're on your A game for that. This way you don't have to worry about that 3-digit number and you could be confident within your credit game if you ever want to apply to different types of credit. Now, ZCommunity, question of the day is, what website do you use to actually check your credit score? Let us know in the comments section down below. I love hearing from you guys. Anyway, ZCommunity, thank you for watching. This is me, Azizz, signing out. Peace.